Hiya! Welcome to episode 2. I don't like saying episode. To number of the old Sodcast. Right, I'm going to get on my soapbox a little bit. Episodes, to me, serial drama type things, for fictional things. I know it technically can class non-fiction documentaries and stuff, but for me, if you're doing an episode of something, then you're doing something where there's actors and things. Anyway,
storytelling.
Right. Anyway, I had to get that off my chest. Hello, everybody, and welcome to number 2, part 2, edition 2 of the old Sodcast. I'm Jimmy Barnes, obviously, and with me is my co-host. I nearly called him my glamorous co-host then.
That's right, I'll take it.
Jason Clow at Not Suitable for Mum. Hi, Jason. How are you?
Oh, yeah, all good, mate. Ready and set, raring to go. This should be quite fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to talking about what we're going to be talking about today, which, if those of you don't know, it is about our memories and maybe some general thoughts about the various physical music formats that we have, and maybe even some that we haven't used in the over the years. So, Jason, you had a good weekend.
Very good. Yep.
Good. Me and Jason were discussing future plans for the Sodcast just before we went live, but we'll leave those as a bit of a surprise for you if you're going to join us every fortnight, and maybe even for a special edition at some point, but we'll see. All right, so we might as well get started, really, hadn't we?
Okay, yep.
Corky's in the chat. Hi, Richard. Thanks for coming in, mate. So I think I want to start with what was certainly, I would call it my favourite music format when I was younger. So it's always going to hold. It's certainly the one that I used the most. I think it's the one pretty much everyone used the most. I want to talk about audio cassettes, Jason.
Yep. No, yeah, great fun with audio cassette. Not just from the point of view of playing stuff, but what you were able to do with a cassette player, basically.
Yeah,
cassette recorder.
What I know about the cassette, it was invented by a team headed by, and I've forgotten his name, so that's good. Headed by like an engineer type person at Philips in the Netherlands in 1960, I think. Philips and then some other companies. It was mainly European, but obviously the Japanese also were trying stuff out in the late 50s. Various tape formats had come out and had been trialed and prototyped, and some had come out to the consumer market, but in the late 50s, going into the early 60s. But the compact cassette, as it was called originally, was only really intended to be a dictation format originally, Jason. Yeah. It wasn't really till Dolby noise reduction started becoming more of a standard in hi-fi, and of course in the recording industry itself in the 1970s, whereas people actually looked at this dictation format that had been around for probably over a decade at that point and thought, actually, you know what, we can get music sounding pretty good on here.
Yeah.
And I've had some, I remember having some tapes, both pre-recorded ones that I've bought and then ones that I'd recorded myself, and they sounded great,
They did, yeah. I got mine. Oh, crikey! I must have been 7, something like that, maybe even younger. I had a little. I think it was a Philips cassette recorder, and the one where you had the big button at the bottom. You had to physically push up to put the head up, and then you could also, to rewind in that, you had to hold the head in a set direction in order to get it to do the rewind or fast forward. It wasn't like, you press a button and it does it for you. You had to physically hold it.
Yeah.
That's what I had. Not particularly great sound quality at the time, but as you say, I think the tape types made up for that.
Yeah.
You had chrome and all the rest of it.
Yeah, you had Type 1, which was ferric, which was kind of your bog standard, cheapest option.
Yeah.
Type 2 was chrome. There was a Type 3 that didn't really do anything, like no one really bothered, which was ferrochrome.
Yes.
And then you had Type 4, which I don't think I'd ever used. I'm not sure I used Type 3 either. I probably never did. Which was metal tape, of course, Type 4, which was expensive. And
yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, you had to, for Type 4 or metal tape, you had to have a very powerful sort of hi-fi and recorder because it needed a stronger signal.
Well,
and
I think
basically more electricity pumping through to record onto the metal tape.
I think even my dad's, because my dad got a big stereo hi-fi. I'm trying to remember who it was by now. I really can't remember for the life of me. Anyway, it was called a high fidelity system, right? And it had your stereo, your radio, your turntable, your cassette player, all the rest of it. And I remember using that one quite a lot for, initially before I got my own to play tapes. And this was coming off the back of reel to reel as well.
Well, yeah,
because it was sort of the next progression on, wasn't it? Really?
Well, yes and no. Like I say, the compact cassette, it has its similarities with reel to reel. I mean, certainly if you look at how the tape is spooled inside your cassette shell or your cartridge, as I think was more of an American term, but they called it like a cassette cartridge.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
tape cartridge for a while, but then it gets confusing when you sort of because for us cartridge means a different sort of format. But I think certainly with home recording, you're right. I think sort of with the invention of the compact cassette, I mean, reel to reel, still, I would say, if we're talking 1960, the year Philips brings the first compact cassette out, then I would say reel to reel still had probably a good 10 years, maybe getting on 15 as a fairly popular pre-recorded and home recording.
Yeah, I think it was the main home doing your own ones.
It was never number one ahead of vinyl, obviously.
No, definitely
in the 1960s or 70s, because vinyl was cheaper.
Exactly.
And there was singles and everything as well, and and reel to reel equipment was always expensive. But I mean, we can get onto that in a bit. But so four types of tape. I think like for certainly me and my family, the standard one we'd always get would be the Type 1 ferric, and I know my dad's Sony Hi-Fi. It did have Dolby on it, actually, Dolby noise reduction for recording off the radio or whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't really understand it when I was younger, so I just didn't really bother. But whether I'm not even sure my dad particularly used it. He might have done.
Yeah.
But I mean, I loved that hi-fi. It was just like one of those ones in a cabinet in a glass door.
Yeah.
And it had your record player on the top. It had like your sort of tuner, radio tuner / amplifier in the middle, and then it had your tape, and then below it was like space to stack your records and stuff like that. It was a lovely thing, and Radio 1, and because that was mainly the only station we really listened to on it, but it sounded crystal clear. I mean, just like you couldn't, like, even in sort of really quiet or silent parts, you couldn't hear any hiss or crackling or anything like that. And when you recorded off Radio 1, which we did often for the top 40,
yes, definitely.
They sounded so good. So although I used to take the piss out of my dad a bit, saying, "Oh, you're tighter than a duck's arse because you always tape it off the radio." To be fair, the stuff he taped off the radio and the stuff I taped off that as well just sounded really good. It was like, it was as good as anything you could go out and buy, really.
I don't think the tapes were overly expensive. It's something like five pack of C60s or something, or C90s for like $3.99, something like that. So, pretty inexpensive to do it.
Yeah, like I say, metal tapes were quite expensive. And if you want to try and find metal tapes now in 2023, good luck. But, like your Type 1s and then to an extent your Type 2s, your chrome tapes, I think they were always reasonably priced. And everywhere sold them as well, don't forget. Boots, The Chemist, Woolworths.
Smiths.
Yeah, pretty much any record shop that you went into would also have a little section where you could buy your blank tapes.
I think we even got them in the local SO garage as well.
Yeah, you could get them anywhere, and some were better than others. Like I suppose if you got like a Boots own brand or something, then you might be saving £2 or £3 if you decide to buy the Sony, or I'm trying to think of another premium. Like I think there was I think TDK were considered.
TDK, they were a good one.
Scotch, I think Scotch did do audio tapes, but I kind of more associate them with videotapes.
Is it JVC as well?
Yeah, JVC. I mean, a lot of your hi-fi manufacturers of the time would
what's it?
Manufacture the tapes as well.
Bass tape.
Yeah. But
the ones with the silver thing.
BASF. Or BASF. I'd still obviously say BASF, which is even more of a mouthful.
Really. That was it, BASF. Thank you. Yeah, I couldn't remember.
Yeah, Richard remembers TDK. I think we used TDK a lot as well. Yeah. Even though our equipment was Sony and we just used to like Sony products generally, I don't think we had many Sony audio cassettes actually. I think they might have been a bit too expensive for me, Dad.
Yeah.
To be fair on him, he didn't skimp too much when it came to buying cassettes. He wouldn't always go for the cheapest, his own brand or whatever. But I don't recall him rarely, if ever, getting any Sony audio tapes. Here's a question though, Jason. It's pretty. I mean, the answer to me is pretty obvious. But which would you prefer, C60s or C90s?
C90s ideally.
Yeah, even though they're a bit more expensive.
Yeah, but that's why I even had I can't remember who made them now. I even had some C120s at one point.
I'm glad you mentioned them because a lot of stereo and hi-fi manufacturers would. I wouldn't say they didn't recommend, but they kind of try. If you looked at the manuals and stuff, they kind of try and discourage you from using 120-minute tape, wouldn't they?
Yeah, I think so. Because I know there weren't very many people that made them.
Because the tape, I mean, Richard makes the point here. They tended to break.
I had that with the tape, with all sorts of tapes anyway.
Yeah, but then but if it's a C60 or a C90 you're using, and that's snapping a lot, that's more likely to be your equipment. Whereas a C120, because if you think about it, a C120, it's the same size cassette shell, but they've got to get a load more tape in it. So what do you do when you've got to get a load more tape in a small space that's normally got a lot less taping? You thin the tape out, don't you? You make
exactly.
So I mean, it's one of those things you never really think about it at the time. You just look and go, "Oh wow, I can record for 2 hours." But then it's a bit of there's a term for it, isn't there? Like a mugs, like a mugs economy or something like that. It's something like that. Where if you buy a C120, chances are it's not going to last you. Exactly. Less of the tape, the better. I mean, C90s were good because obviously you get an extra half an hour on. C60s were fine. Like if you're recording an album, certainly, that's a lot
of the time. That's what you wanted to do.
Tape to tape. Or CD to tape, etc.
Yeah, because otherwise you just had a great big chunk at the end, and you got to do the rewinding and fast forward and all the rest of it. Which is a bit of a faff.
Of course, as you went on, as hi-fi progressed in the 80s into the early 90s, you then got stuff like auto reverse on your better quality stuff. My hi-fi, the cassette player on that has got auto reverse, which is quite handy. And there's also the it's some sort of initials. I've forgotten them. There's a couple of S's in it, I think, where if you press rewind or fast forward, like if you hold it down or something, like it'll be like almost like a single track skip type thing, where it'll fast forward or rewind to where it hears the start of a song.
Yeah, I think it was silence something or other.
It was
silent skip or something like that.
It was some acronym, yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember. I know my dad had on his stereo anyway. You said about recording the top 40 quickly. He had a button there where you could mute the sound whilst the DJ was talking, and then release your finger to get the stuff without all the DJ yabber on it. Yeah. Okay, you had a gap, but you didn't worry about that because then you had the song without any nonsense on it.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose that's quite a nice feature. I mean, obviously, I think anyone who didn't have that would be just, waiting to hear Bruno Brooks or whoever it is.
Yeah.
And or just waiting to hear what you think's the end of a track, because you maybe listening for a fade out or something like that, and you've got your finger poised over the pause button or whatever, or the stop button. Yeah. Oh, those were the days.
Yeah.
Simple pleasures for
indeed. Simple, well, why not? It was a good way of. I think it was a good way of getting the music, because obviously later on, we'll get into that later on. You had your portable players and whatnot, but it was just a fun way of having the music. It didn't take up an awful lot of space, not like albums did.
Yeah.
And like you said, being able to record on them and make up your own stuff, which was a hell of a lot of fun.
Right. Yeah. Now, that's just reminded me about a couple of misconceptions about cassettes that I want to clear up here today. Right. The first one. Right. What did you use to wind your tape, like manually? Like, say if your Walkman was out of batteries, or you weren't near.
Probably a pencil, something like that. But they didn't always. It had to be a certain shape.
You didn't use a pencil. That is, I don't know. It's become in today, as we're talking now, 2023, and well, maybe for the last 10 years or more, since memes got really popular, really, like the popular meme for like people talking about cassettes who really weren't there when they were out was like, oh, you always needed a pencil to rewind them. Exactly. Vinyl Dale's got it. We in the UK tended to use a Bic biro.
Oh, maybe that was it. Yeah, perhaps. Maybe that was it. I tried to use the pencil.
You're thinking you used a pencil because of all these memes and posters and things that people.
Well, no,
and it's totally wrong, because.
Yeah.
I mean, I've not. I mean, I could probably find a pencil somewhere, and I've certainly got a few tapes to demonstrate it.
Yeah.
But if you put a pencil in one of those spool holes, but wind it properly, it just wobbles about.
Yeah, it just spins. No, I think
a Bic isn't perfect, but you can get enough purchase on it to do it.
I think what it was is that I remember trying to use one, and then going, no, that doesn't work, and then, like you say, using the Bic. Because I think Bic had better angles on it, so it actually
on
the little teeth.
Yeah, the way it was shaped, you could get you could sort of just about. It wasn't perfect. Now then, do you know the one country where they would associate pencils with winding tapes? Have a guess.
I don't know, Italy.
No, Japan.
Oh, right, okay.
And do you know why?
What's that then?
Because their pencils, their general use pencils, what they use every day in schools and things like that, they're thicker than ours, so they do fit perfectly.
Right.
A cassette spool hole.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of this kind of for these new modern memes. There's a bit of like, oh well, we're misremembering, but there's also this kind of, well, maybe someone saw someone in Japan do it.
Hey, it's possible.
Their pencils are different.
Yeah.
So next time you see one of those pictures or see some sort of article that says, oh, get your pencils out because cassettes are making a comeback. You can put in your comment, well, we never wound them back with pencils in the UK because they didn't fit properly. They were too thin. So shut up. Because I read an article on Facebook. It was only a couple of days ago. I just came across it, I think, because one of my friends had commented on it. And it was ITV News of all things. And it was such a cringe-worthy article. It was basically what I just said. It was like, oh, get your pencils out. Cassettes are making a comeback. Yeah. And then it listed like some supposed impressive stats, like the sales of cassettes have doubled over the past year. Well, and that's good. That's nice. But if you compare the sales of cassettes in 2023 to the sale of cassettes in, say, 1988, 89, it's like a drop in the ocean.
Yeah, it is.
So to say they're making a comeback, I mean, they're just trying to... They're taking the vinyl revival, which, to be fair, has grown quite exponentially year on year. Yeah. But they're trying to bring cassettes into that, and cassettes now, really, they're more kind of like a sort of gimmicky souvenir type thing.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I got a couple of albums when I got some record pack, and there was an album on cassette with it. I've never played it. I haven't got anything to play it with, right? And I probably never would anyway, right?
Yeah. I mean, if you've got the album on a different format, then no.
Yeah.
But I can play tapes, and I do play tapes. Not as much as vinyl or CDs, but I've got a few, and I'm happy to add the odd one into my collection from time to time. I think the last pre-recorded cassette I bought it might have been some Erasure ones, like originals from the 90s. So I think I bought them after I bought Matt Berry's latest album. I've got that on cassette as well. But that's one preconception that youngsters and people with bad memories have about cassettes. Now there's another one I want to talk about as well. Right, okay, Jason, I'll ask you.
Okay.
When you used to record onto cassette, be it off the radio or you're recording just general, if you're recording general tracks off CDs or whatever, what did you used to call that tape when you'd finished it? When you filled up your C90 or whatever it was, and you'd say to a friend or to your sister.
I know what you're probably going to say, but I don't think I ever really called it that.
Well, that's it. I'm asking you what you did call it, not what you didn't call it.
Right. Well, just music tape. Radio recordings, whatever. It's what it happens to be.
Did you ever call it a compilation, maybe?
So, I suppose sometimes. It wasn't really a word I used, but yeah. You could argue that it was.
What definitely didn't you call it?
I wouldn't call it a mixtape, because that's what a lot of people...
Right, thank you.
Yeah,
right.
Because mixtape is them actually putting all the songs together as a remix or whatever.
Yeah, that's not strictly true, but I'm not going to get bogged down in the finer details of it.
Yeah.
Right, mixtape's an American term. It derives obviously from like your kind of early to mid 80s hip hop scene.
Yeah.
Nobody, including myself or anyone I knew, and let's face it, we all used cassettes. Like in the 80s and well into the 90s. No one in this country ever called it a mixtape, and now we're doing it. It's some Americanism that for some reason we've adopted, and now we're using it retrospectively. Like there was a video done by a friend of mine, nice chap, Rob Walker. I think it was a contest entry.
Yeah.
And he said, "This is my mixtape for my contest." And I was watching it. I was like, Rob, I mean, he's even older than me, so he definitely won't be using. Like, Rob, we never called it a mixtape back then. That's something we're calling it now because, like, it's an Americanism that's kind of transcended over, that's transferred over here, and now now we call it anything that's recorded on cassette that's like a compilation.
Yeah, I just named it. I just used to name it what it was. Whatever it was, top 40 or whatever.
Well, yeah, I don't mean specifically name it. I just mean generally when you've got you say, oh, I've got a music tape here, I've got a compilation. I think you say compilation. Maybe it was a little bit kind of stuffy of me, but maybe
no, I don't think I had a set name as such. Really, it was just a radio recording.
We didn't call them mixtapes, and it does annoy me that British people now are saying, "Oh yeah, I used to make mixtapes." It's like, no, you didn't, because you used to make compilations. You used to record songs on cassette, but you never called them mixtapes because that word hadn't entered the British English vocabulary then.
I blame Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, that might be why that's got so because all that is a compilation, really, isn't it?
Yeah, yes, definitely. I definitely broke the tabs off.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you the other thing as well was using sellotape when it was an old tape that you didn't want to have anymore. Then you
right, Rob's here. Yeah, Rob. Yeah, the contest was make a mixtape, but I mean, I entered that contest as well, and I'm pretty certain I didn't say the word mixtape at all. It's for people, certainly people of our, all right, say for like you're in your 20s or even pushing into your 30s, and you just get into cassette now because you never had it back when you were a kid like we did.
Yeah.
All right, if you're watching Guardians of the Bleeding Galaxy and like the same, fair enough. But Rob, for people, anyone kind of aged 40 to 60, which is basically me, Jason, you, Richard, Dale, probably anyone. We didn't call it then, did we? You didn't think it was a big?
I don't think so. No.
It's not a big deal. It's not like no one's going to get sent to the Tower of London over it.
No, it was just it's one of these terms.
I'll tell you now. I'll tell you now. I know we can't go back in the TARDIS to prove it, but I'll bet you anything you never said it when you were younger. Just like you never used a pencil, or maybe you tried to use a success.
It was this preconception that you used to call records vinyl. Yes, okay, now.
Well, yeah, right? It's similar. It's a little bit. It's a little bit different. Yeah, it's vinyl. I remember people saying vinyl.
I just call them records.
But what people also said records just as much.
Yeah, but records is all albums.
The scene's kind of changed, really.
Yeah.
But and Rob, you were pissing in the wind there, Rob, because pencils over here are rubbish. Unless you got some Japanese pencils imported, you would be better off using a Bic. See, like I don't know. Rob's got a good 20 years nearly on me, and I'm the one who's teaching some things here.
It's the old Mandela effect again, isn't it?
Yeah,
remembering something different to what it actually was.
Yeah, exactly. It's the Mandela effect. You're looking at memes and what young people think they know about, which they know fuck all. And you're like, oh yeah, maybe I did used to do that. Well, you didn't. You didn't say that. You didn't do that. Or if you did do that, then you realised it was a waste of time, and you went and did something better. So that's the two misconceptions about audio cassette in the UK. I'm not saying this is a thing that transcends over to America or Japan. I've already explained about the Japanese pencil thing, but that's an easy one to clear up.
Yeah. The only thing I did, well, no, they can't have done, because it would have to be the same. I was just wondering if it was something to do with the spindle size, but it can't be, because all of them took the same size spindle.
Exactly. They've all got the exact same size spindle. They've all got the exact same size room in the housing itself. That's why I was saying about the 120-minute cassettes. Like, if you think about it, it's obvious that they have to make the formula of the tape thinner so that it can fit more into the same size housing.
I think what I'm remembering with the pencil business was that, like I said, trying it, and what it would do, it wouldn't do anything. It would just spin around there. You might get the odd tooth that would move, and it would move a little bit.
Yeah,
it wasn't very practical.
Yeah, but it's like pissing in the wind, isn't it? Like you're just fiddling for ages.
Yeah, it was quicker. Yeah, it was far quicker to do it the other way.
The perfect thing to use to manually wind a tape is a Japanese pencil. So if ever you get back into cassettes, anybody, then and you want to manually wind your tapes on, don't listen to Rob Walker, because he'll just tell you to use a good old British HB, and you'll be there faffing for hours. And go on the Japanese auction sites and order Japanese pencils from off by E or something like that.
I'm just I just trying to remember if I actually used a flat-headed screwdriver as well.
I never did. I'm trying to think if that would work.
I can't remember.
I thought most of the heads would be too small for them.
Yeah, I have a vague recollection. I'm talking about the big, chunky ones.
Yeah.
But I wondered if...
We've talked a lot about audio cassette, and we have got other formats that we want to. But if you've got any other things to say, any other memories about cassettes, Jason, then now's your chance.
No, I think that's the main sort of thing. Is just and like I said, doing the home recordings.
Admittedly, a lot of this it was me just trying to right some wrongs with people's minds, but as long as I feel I've done good and righteous work tonight, then that's the main thing.
The one thing I was going to say was, although we were talking about the remix bit, right? I did actually do a remix tape, and I used. My mate had a stereo where you could play the record player, the radio, and the tape player effectively. Although you weren't supposed to. I think we ended up breaking it, but you could play them all at the same time. And then because it was twin tape, you could then record what you were doing. So we basically went around the garden with a portable cassette player recording all these sounds, and then overlaid it over an instrumental track. And there you are, we had our remix. But it worked. It wasn't very good, but it worked.
As long as you had fun, and that
was it. Yeah,
tapes were fun. Like I remember having a little, I think it was Fisher Price or something like that. It was like this weird sort of like kind of diarrhea brown colour. Kids, it was like a nasty colour, but I loved it. Carried it around. Had a little handle. It had a little microphone on it, so I used to record myself being silly. In the 90s, I had a Talk Boy after Home Alone 2 came out. Asked for a Talk Boy for Christmas and got one. The fun we used to have when I took that to school. Rob, I'd love for you to make me an audio compilation, but I don't want you to make me a mixtape, because that'd mean you having to either regress 30 years and become a post-millennial, or it means you're having to move to America, and I don't want you to do either of them, mate. So we'll move on to another format. Let's move on to one that's let's move on to what I think most people would have upgraded when certainly for me it was the mid-90s, but some people probably would have done it a lot earlier. Some people maybe even a lot later. Let's talk about the compact disc. I know you've got some thoughts about the compact disc. So tell us, the CD.
Yes, the CD. What old Maggie Philbin and crew on Tomorrow's World was saying, the best music format ever, because you couldn't scratch it, you couldn't break it, right? It wouldn't skip, it wouldn't crackle, it wouldn't hiss, it wouldn't pop. And okay, yes, some of that was true, but not much of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They didn't crackle or pop, I suppose.
No, but they did skip. They definitely skipped.
Yeah, often that would be kind of a laser alignment thing, though, wouldn't it?
Also, if you got a scratch on there as well, because the laser wouldn't pick it up.
If this, from the equipment point of view, I'll say, but obviously, if the CDs scratched, then.
But that was the whole point. You weren't supposed to be able to scratch them, according to what they were saying. Which is absolute rubbish.
Yeah, but I mean, I suppose as soon as you buy your first CD, say if you're an early adopter, and when would they come out over here? Maybe, I think they came out mostly worldwide around 82 or 83. Yeah. So you'd have thought Britain would get them 83, maybe 84.
I got mine.
Early for me to remember CDs, obviously, but you might be able to.
I got my my first, if you like, proper stereo. I had a number of record players and stuff that I've been handed down and all the rest of it, but I got my first proper stereo with turntable, twin deck, CD, all the rest of it, and it was a Seisho one. I don't know if you remember Seisho.
I do remember Seisho.
Yeah,
yes.
I think it was Dixon's own brand, something like that. And yeah, I got one for. I think I got it for my 16th birthday, so talking 86. And I actually had a CD in there when I got it, which you didn't know at the time, right? Because they got the display model because it was cheaper. Nothing wrong with it. Played fine. And it ended up being Billy Idol's greatest hits, and someone had obviously put it in there to play in store to demonstrate
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, great, I'll have that Billy Idol free CD. Why not?
Yeah. So I suppose then that Billy Idol compilation was your first album on CD.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think I got something else as well. I can't remember. I think it might have been Iron Maiden or something like that.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. It's like, I suppose it's with anything really. Say if like you get bought a Game Boy or something when you're a kid, it's like it'd be a bit miserable if your parents bought you a Game Boy and then it didn't come with any games.
No, exactly.
I mean, I know they're all bundled with Tetris, but just think, just say if you bought a second-hand one or something and like it didn't include the game, it'd be, oh, where's that Game Boy you wanted? Great, have I got anything to play on it? Nah.
Oh, bollocks.
Exactly.
Yeah, you'd have been a bit miffed.
So I got my first CD player in 1995, Christmas Day, and remember it well. Me and my brother both got a CD player each. It was like a little. Now then, this is something else where sort of old terms are now being used for something a bit different than what the actual original meaning was. But now, if you go on Amazon or something, they'd be under the name boombox. But of course, a boombox from the 80s is like a great big chunky rectangular thing, but it was like a little CD cassette player with a handle. I mean, people call them boomboxes now, which isn't strictly true.
No.
But I got a Sony one, which was like a kind of, I think it was like a purple thing. It was really nice. And my brother got like this black Philips thing, which was very similar with specs and stuff. Richard got his first CDs in 91, and they were Paul McCartney's Ram and Donovan's Fairy Tale.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
A couple of nice albums there as well, I'd wager. Yeah, I mean, let's face it, CD was, I mean, is Trojan horse kind of like the correct term, where it's kind of it's almost like a cynical format, really. It was designed for you to chuck out all your old records and replace them with this shiny.
I know what you mean.
And a lot of people did. It's a story I'm a bit embarrassed to tell, but I remember with the approval of my father as well.
Yeah,
he was getting into CD the following year as well, 1996. I remember swapping some of my dad's Beatles albums with a friend of mine who's a big Beatles fan for the same things on CD, and my friend must have seen me coming doing that. Because looking back, I'm like, and one of the things I regret it so much was the original double EP for the Magical Mystery Tour with
blimey!
Oh, that's such a nice little set that is. Yeah. And what did I get in return? The boring reissued in 1987 or something in a not very interesting jewel case Magical Mystery Tour album on CD. It didn't seem like a fair swap, really.
No. I would agree with you on that one.
But but CDs. Well, I mean, they still, they're never going to get back to the heights that they once did. But
no,
they were by the mid to late 90s. They certainly overtaken cassette. I think vinyl that probably started, or records that had started its decline probably in by the late 80s. I would have thought, what with just because of cassette doing so well.
I think,
but it just looking back, it seems like a really sort of cynical kind of thing to do, to like bring a format compact disc out, and then you basically, with all your promotion and your advertising and everything, you're saying, you're telling your customers, oh, your old record collection sounds crap.
It
that was too much room. You want to chuck it out, flog it, chuck it in the bin, whatever, and you want to get these CDs because they sound better, they take up less room, etc., etc. And I don't know, it seems a bit of a it's a bit of a miserable way of advertising. I mean, I get it. I get why they do it because they're making, these record companies, they're making money twice. I mean, they're still making money twice off me occasionally when I buy. Like when I bought Rammstein's new album, and I made sure I definitely got it on CD and on vinyl at the same time.
Yeah.
And other things like New Order, although that's really with third party sellers, so it's not the same. But I'm still doubling up now. So
I think though the thing is you have it on CD for convenience sake, right? And I still do buy CDs. I got one just the other week. Right, in a pack, right, but it also came with a a vinyl copy as well.
Yeah.
So you've got one that's nice, you keep pristine. You play, you might play it a couple of times because it's fun to play it on vinyl, right? But then you've got the CD that you can play over and over and over again to your heart's content, and you're not that worried about it's getting damaged or whatever because the chances are you can replace it relatively easily. You pick the same album up for £1, later on down the line.
I've had a few album like vinyl LPs like that where they've bundled the CD in. I know there's I think there's 1 or 2 Lieback LPs I've got where the CD came with it as standard. But for me, how my setup is, and I know everyone's setup's different, so it's whatever's the easiest thing for you to play is your choice really. But I just like to stick the record on now if I can. But if I have to buy something that's only out on CD, and there is a couple of things like the I think the Records Roundup video I've got coming out tomorrow. There's an album I've got on CD simply because it's not out on any other format. And I think the one I've filmed that's coming out a week next Monday has also got a CD that's not come out on any other format.
Yeah, I think that was part of the issue, though, really, was because it wasn't just it was the record industry as a whole that embraced CD. So, obviously, we did have this decline in vinyl records. And during the 90s, certainly, you didn't have a lot of albums come out initially on anything but CD. I don't think, in fact, I think some of them you couldn't even get on tape. It was CD or nothing.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think pre-recorded tapes, I mean, we're going back there again, but just to sort of elaborate on your comment, I think they were still relatively commonplace and pretty much every album would come out on cassette until probably the late 90s, early 2000s. But I know what you're saying, certainly as the 2000s sort of really got going, you weren't finding tapes hardly anywhere.
I think I remember having maxi tapes as well, actually. Seeing the singles on tapes. Yeah.
Oh, the singles, you mean?
Yeah, singles, whatever they called them.
Yeah.
But some of them were called maxi tapes. Depending what country you got them from.
I never really liked singles. I had a few.
Yeah.
I don't know. There was just. I think it was because you always got there was maybe 2, maybe 3 tracks on a side if you're lucky, but then you get the exact same on the other side. I always felt that was a bit of a rip-off. I'm thinking. I mean, I know it's less tape in it. It's like it's like a C15 or something like that, really, for a single. I think.
I think most of mine that I had, I could be wrong. I'd have to have a look, but I think a lot of mine was one song one side, one song the other. Right.
I know the ones I had seemed to just repeat on side A and B, but
it could well be.
Yeah, but CDs. I mean, I had a load of CD singles. CD singles were my favourite thing to collect for a good 2 or 3 years, from say early '96, probably to actually more, probably till about 2000, I think, really, because they were cheap and I listened. Yeah. I'm still listening to not loads of radio, but I was listening to a bit of radio. And then when I went to college, I was doing college radio. So I started listening to more sort of local and independent radio just to kind of, try and maybe see if anything would sink in when I was doing college radio sort of thing. Evening, Nick's Vinyl Butty. Nice to see you, mate.
Hello.
Yeah, I used to love it, especially when I knew I used to make sure I researched all the release dates and stuff, which before the internet, I suppose, could be a little bit tricky. But I was sort of like listened out on radio programs and like, oh, they've just mentioned the release date for that. I'll make a note. And some magazines and things, and you get adverts that say the dates. So I used to love it. If I couldn't get in on a Monday, which is when all the new stuff would come out, then going into town on the Saturday, and then seen a single that I'd heard on the radio or wherever, or seen on the telly, the chart show or something, and then seeing that it was like $1.99 as opposed to another new release that was like maybe $3.99. It's like, that one I want, it's actually cheaper than that one.
Yeah.
And then some shops that obviously have slight price variations as well. I mean, that's my memory of CD singles. It's like it speaks to the miser in me, which I wouldn't consider myself miserly, but I did used to like getting stuff for cheap, and that's why I've got way more singles than albums, because singles were cheap.
Also, you might not necessarily want the whole album. There's just like what you might have heard it and said, well, yeah, but I only want the one song. I don't like any of the other stuff.
Exactly. That was the case a lot for me. Some singles, they were by bands who, like, I'd be quite embarrassed to buy the album. I'd be like, no, I'm not buying their album because it'll mostly be crap, but I really like this one single by them, so I'll get that. Now, Richard, I'm glad you brought that up because Jason's got a prop to show us.
Oh, what, the floppies?
No.
Oh, no, the CD singles. Yeah.
Yeah, Jason's got a 3-inch CD single there. Can you tell us what it is, Jace?
It's Depeche Mode, Enjoy the Silence.
Oh, a great single as well.
It was the quad mix. The one that's 15 minutes long.
Mm.
So, yeah. And you had it's because some of the players didn't have the gap in. You had the adapter as well, which I've still got.
Now then, the 3-inch CD single, or the mini CD, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
That was from what I know about that form, I suppose it's like a sub format, really, of the CD.
Yeah.
But they released them as 3-inch as opposed to a normal CD, which is their 5-inch, I think, aren't they?
5, yes, I believe so.
So they did it in kind of like deference to vinyl records, where you've got a 12-inch for an album and a 7-inch for a single. So in the CD age, you've got a 5-inch for an album and a 3-inch for a single.
I think I've got.
But they didn't carry it on because it was such a hassle for the CD manufacturers and pressing plants to be making these little 3-inch CD singles.
Yeah,
it was like it wasn't cost effective, and so they just started putting singles, 3-4 tracks or whatever it might be, onto a standard size 5-inch CD.
Yeah.
Which for me is a bit of a shame, really, because if the CD single, if every one had come out on a 3-inch diameter disc, I think it'd be a more fondly remembered thing now, because it'd be properly different. But whereas like you've only got the one, Richard's mentioned that he's only got 2. I rarely saw the really little ones. I think by the time I got into CD in 1995, 96, I think that was way past the point where all the companies were saying, oh, well, we're just going to put them on normal 5-inch discs now.
Yeah. Well, I got that one. I got the first 2 Name of Cherry singles on mini CD. And do you remember Kat, who was with Prince? The dancer.
Yeah, I've vague memories.
Yeah, she did some stuff with Bomb the Bass. And I've got that on single on little Diddy one. But they came in the little Diddy cardboard sleeve instead of the jewel cases.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. So I remember my friend who ran the college radio station. He had a couple of the little mini 3-inch CD singles. I think he had the Cult, Edie Chow Baby, and then a couple of other things.
Sorry, I'm not very straight again.
It was funny because one of them, I hope it wasn't the Cult one, because I think he used to quite like that song. But the CD player we used, which was a decent CD player, front loader and everything, in the video studio. I put one of these 3-inch CDs in it, and it just shot off down into the back of the mechanism.
Because you didn't have the groove in it for it to sit in.
Yeah, and we could never get it back. But it didn't stop the CD player work. The CD player still worked. It had this little CD single in it. The Cult one, you know.
I just worried about it reflecting laser beams all over the place.
I was like saying to me mate, who was kind of like my boss, for want of a better term, at the start. Oh no, I'm sorry. And he's like, oh, it's all right, doesn't matter. I'm like, oh god. Can we get that back? No, not unless
the
whole thing.
Open it up, yeah. But, and they said you must never ever do that because it's dangerous.
Yeah.
What's that he's saying?
Yeah. Nick says he's got 3 of the. Yeah.
I see it as a bit of a novelty now. It's something fun you can say you've got in your collection, because not a lot of people will have them necessarily.
Yeah, it is a novelty because they were so rare. Like I say, I don't think they were even coming out anymore hardly by the time I got into CD. I think by the early 90s, it was just a case of the company saying, "Nah, this is a waste of money making these CDs. We're just not going to bother anymore." Whereas obviously it's different with vinyl because of like speeds and things like that.
The daft thing.
Let's not forget, 12-inch singles didn't really become a thing until the 1980s either. So
no.
Really, all you had from the 1950s to the 1980s was your 12-inch size album and then a 7-inch size single. But I mean, we can get onto that in a little bit.
The other thing you've got is the pain in the arse is you can't get the bloody thing back in the caddy now.
Oh, right. Well, yeah. You wouldn't see someone using props, though, Jay. So, you'll have to sort that out after we go on. I mean, CDs have kind of lived on, have sort of scraped on by. I mean, when CD rewriters became cheaper in the 2000s, I mean, that seemed like a very, very brief kind of revolution, really, didn't it? Like, because obviously downloading songs and like finding free songs as well was getting big at the same time, and it was like, oh wow, I can suddenly have all these CDs, all these albums, all these compilations, or if you live in Rob Walker's house, all these mixtapes, and you can make 50 of them, and all you need to do is buy a 50 discs.
Well. I'm thinking sort of another subject for another day, really. But there were other things that were recorded than music onto CDs. So,
well, we know that. I mean, there was CD video and video CD, which were
that was that as well.
Yeah. I've got a CD video. I've got the it's a funny one. It's the True Faith CD video single from New Order. I've got that.
Yeah.
It's a layer that's like a Laserdisc layer, and then I think it's the outer layer that's the audio bit.
Yeah.
Or it might be the other way around. But the CD video, which is like a gold coloured thing, is actually mostly Laserdisc technology.
Yeah. They also had enhanced CDs, which was a mixture between a CD audio CD and a CD-ROM. So if you put it in your computer, it would read a file when you'd have the video on there.
I would say the early 2000s, weren't they? Where if it'd often be a single. I remember having some Rammstein CD singles, and at least one of them. You could play if you had the operating system of the time, which obviously wouldn't really work now.
No.
You could play the video, or it might have a clip from a concert or something.
It was something like Quick Play or something like that.
Yeah.
And but no, I'm sure it's back in the late 90s, because I went in about 97. I went mad just buying CD singles left, right, and centre of anything that I liked. Don't know why. I've still got loads of them, and I'm sure some of those were in hard CDs because it had its own little logo as well. So,
yeah,
at least that's the way I remember it. Maybe the brain's a bit funny in what I'm remembering, but I'm pretty sure that was the case.
Yeah. So, I mean, there is a lot to say about compact disc, but we've talked about some of our memories, and we've spent quite a long time on it. So, for me, I think that's enough. If you've got anything else to say about it,
no. I think that's fine.
Yeah. So, what format would you like to talk about next, Jace?
Well, should we talk about one of your favourites, mini disc?
Hey! Oh, I think I might be able to reach over for a prop as well, actually.
Yeah.
There we are. There's a mini disc.
Yeah. I loved that format.
I've just not got round to listening to some of my new mini discs. These are the ones that come out on Bandcamp and things like that. So, mini disc. I love it so much.
Yeah.
My hi-fi's obviously capable for mini disc. I've also got a couple of portables. I've got one that's a recorder, one that's just a player. That I did an unboxing video on YouTube about well, that'll be about 3 years ago nearly, I think. Started being developed in the early 90s. It got released Europe and Japan, certainly, I think around 1992. Competing at the time with one that I'll touch upon briefly as well, but I've never used it, digital compact cassette, which was another Philips thing. It was Sony versus Philips in those days, and Philips, they had invented the original compact cassette. But really, if you think about it, Philips kind of, they didn't not drop the ball as such, but it was Sony who really made the audio tape what it was, thanks to the Walkman in the late 70s, early 80s. But they were using technology that they'd had no part of in inventing, really. It was a Philips thing, and this time it was like Sony versus Philips. Sony were like going away from tape and stuff like that, into this little optical disc that was housed in a caddy. That's a mini disc, by the way. And Philips were doing the digital compact cassette.
There was that as well, wasn't there?
That was a few years earlier. That was something that never really became a proper home format because there was so little released on it, and there was also problems like they couldn't really sell it properly in America because of the legal restrictions over there. And to an extent, that's also what happened with mini disc in America as well.
Yeah.
That's why mini disc, it was big in Japan, like because in Japan they just don't care if you copy music. It's not a big deal. It's not frowned upon. And in Europe, it really should have caught on better in Britain than it did. But I think a lot of it wasn't any legal things or anything. It was the shops and the distributors over here. They were overpricing the stuff.
They were. That was the thing.
They're making a pre-recorded mini disc album like twice the price of a CD, and it sounds pretty much exactly the same as a CD. Maybe a little better depending if you've got equipment.
Again, it was effectively the mini CD in a case.
Yeah,
it was almost like an audio format, a floppy disk.
A recordable. It wasn't a CD because obviously it was. You've got to differentiate technically, but it was a recordable optical disc in a plastic shell. Nick's never seen a mini disc. Well, I've got plenty of videos on my channel. I'm going to cheap plug myself now. Plenty of videos on my channel where I do show mini discs, Nick. So if you would like to see some for the first time, then look back in my music collecting playlist. But it's a format. I still love it. I love the fact that there's still these little boutique record labels still bringing albums and mini disc out. It's I never properly got into it at the time. My friend, a guy who I worked under at college radio, he was getting into mini disc, and he was like showing me how he like sort of edited tracks and did and put his jingles and stuff on mini disc and stuff like that. So he was getting into it, and that was like 97, 98. So it was, I think the price for some of the mini disc equipment was starting to come down at that point. Yeah. But like I say, for not just the mini discs themselves, but for the equipment, for a lot of the time, it were all too expensive. And I think that's what really killed it off in this country.
Yeah. I mean, I had one back when they came out. I had a stereo, mini disc stereo. And my mate had actually a portable mini disc player, because he loved it as well. The stupid thing was, I didn't own really any albums on mini disc. It was all stuff again like you call that cassette.
That's
it
the
was
thing.
Stuff I recorded.
That was what it was replacing. Really, it was replacing your blank audio tapes. Really, I have got quite a lot of pre-recorded mini discs. I mean, I'm looking at them now, and must be getting on for 100. And some of them are pretty valuable and rare as well. But it was first and foremost, it was a home recording format. What you'd record someone's album from CD onto it, or you'd make your compilation.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, my thing was to go down the local library and hire the CDs for like you hire the CD for like £1 for a week or something like that. And you just go and record all these albums onto compact disc, onto mini disc. You know, and then if you really liked it, obviously you did go out and buy it proper.
And that was a very popular thing to do in Japan, because borrowing CDs in, like, maybe not libraries as such, but in kind of like like video rental shops.
Exactly. Yeah,
sort of thing. Borrowing CDs to do that was a big thing in Japan as well. So that's what the mini disc really took off about as well as it did.
I also love the fact that when you recorded the audio off the radio, it was really, really crisp.
Yeah, if you got your settings, there again, it all depends on your settings, and you know what you're doing. But I love the sound quality of mini disc. For me, it's a bit of trickery. It's what's the term? It's like snake oil or something. Really, there is no massively discernible difference to my ears between CD and mini disc. But when I put a mini disc on, I kind of always convince myself that this sounds just a little bit nicer than a compact disc.
I suspect if you actually scanned it, because you'd be able to scan CDs and stuff for the bit rate. If you could do that, you'd probably find they were pretty equal.
But I mean, mini disc, when recording, you maybe not quite at the beginning, but certainly, and the equipment I've got will bear testament to it. You had like your different recording options, like you had your SP, which was your standard play.
Yep.
LP2, LP4, and I think the little portable recorder I've got, I can even record in mono on that. So, but that is kind of like it's a mini disc recorder, but it's got a built-in mic, so it's kind of meant to be for like dictation as well.
Yeah.
I mean, a mini disc could do it all. You could record good quality music. If you had a right recorder, you could use it as a dictaphone.
Exactly. Well, that's what I had on my stereo.
Yeah.
Because I think mine was a CD mini disc combo with a stereo, no record player. But it was those two combined.
Yeah,
and it might even have had tape as well. I can't remember.
And all the equipment, at the time, it was. Yeah, I would still say Sony were leading the way because it was their product originally, but obviously they were licensing it out to, everyone else. I'm trying to think some big Japanese players in mini. Kenwood were big in Japan for mini disc. Panasonic, obviously, they were Sharp as well. And they were all pretty decent stuff by all accounts. You know, it was it all worked how it was supposed to work.
Yeah.
And for me, that's the big shame for mini disc. It really, in this country and in Europe, and I mean, I'm not including America because they were just against anything that you could make a copy of. Really, they're just that against piracy. But it really, mini discs should have replaced audio cassettes as a home recording format properly here. But it never happened, and it was a shame.
I think partly
the quality of them is great. They're nice and small, so that, you know, if you're buying a lot, they're not taking up a load of room.
Yeah,
you know.
When did MP3s first come in though? Because I'm trying to remember. It's quite a long time ago now.
Yeah, MP3s. I would say late 90s is when you got the sites like Napster that were starting to make waves. I mean, I didn't get fully connected onto the internet till the year 2000, so I'm only really speaking 2000. But I would say late 90s was.
I'm just wondering whether that had like an effect really on mini disc as a whole, because if you could just record something to a computer and you got to find a computer, a lot of people wouldn't be bothered.
Yeah.
You know, and it's better than a WAV file, because obviously WAV files weren't that great quality.
Yeah, Richard makes a fairly good point here that CDRs replace the cassette. I think for recording off a computer, you're absolutely right, because like I say, CD rewriters, be it like external ones or ones that were built into PCs, I mean, the prices were coming down in the 2000s. And, you know, you could just go onto a website or some sort of application on the internet and get a load of music for free or very cheap.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, I can't argue with that at all, really.
No.
Dale remembers Napster. Those were the days, and cassettes were virtually. But if you think about an audio cassette, I mean, you know, I suppose we were lucky. I certainly was, and from what you said, Jason, you were as well. That when we were using audio cassettes for recording off the radio and things like that in the 80s into the early 90s, we did have some good equipment to use it on. If you think, I mean, I know we're going back to cassettes again, but if you think about it, a lot of cassette equipment was the shits. Because
mine wasn't great. Good. Yeah, mine wasn't great.
You yourself, it sounds like you might have owned something that wasn't brilliant, because you mentioned about tape snapping earlier.
Yeah, well, it was Seisho, in that, you know, Dixon's own brand.
Well, yeah, that's
so you know it was. But for what it was, which is a cheap system,
if you were happy with it, then that was the main thing, really.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you know, if you want, the thing is, I mean, it's true for anything. If you want quality, you do have to pay a bit more. I mean, it's as simple as that, really. It's not always what you want to do, but you know.
Yeah.
But just having a look at Richard's comment here about Kazars, irises. Yeah.
I remember Kazar. Yeah.
It's I know the name, but I don't think I ever used that.
No.
But so mini disc, really, by the time you were getting, you know, things like MP3 players and the iPod and things like that coming out in the mid 2000s, then, you know, mini disc, it had Sony and whoever tried to revive it a couple of times. They introduced a thing called NetMD, which was where you'd plug a USB lead from your mini disc into your computer, and then you could record all your MP3s over onto a mini disc, and it would transfer all the track information and data over.
Yeah, I think you can do it the other way as well.
Yeah. And that was a nice. I've never used NetMD, but I've seen demonstrations of it, and it looked a nice thing. But by that point, they were up against it, because they were up against all the MP3 players that were coming out, and Apple were about to dominate the market for the first time as well. So
a little known story. I know you know this because I've told you it before, and you've even seen me do a video sort of on it. the advertisement for mini disc over here, and I think it must have been about 91, 92, right? Actually featured, I don't know if people remember the name of a band called Reef. Yeah, most people know their song "Place Your Hands," but their first single is featured as you got the guy skateboarding around, and he hits the mini disc with his skateboard and it bounces around, and anyway, it gets played in the studio, and Reef is sat there, and the bloke likes it, and it's like, yeah, it was just. I don't know if that's what got me into Reef or not. It might well have been just that advert alone. I just thought, I really like that song.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I remember you showing. I think I also saw that ad or a very similar one on an old Techmoan video as well. Funnily enough, but I do definitely remember you showing it, Jason.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it was. There was an advertising campaign. I mean, obviously that was a Sony thing.
Well, they were sold to Sony, and it was Sony S2. You see. But I don't think the stuff came out on mini disc, which is the weird thing about it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I do have a Reef album on mini disc. I'd occasionally look out.
You did. You had. I think you had Glow.
I had the one that came out around. It was 2000, I think.
Oh, maybe not then.
So it might be the one after Glow.
That was Rides.
Right, yes, it is Rides. I've got Rides on mini disc. That's only Reef I've got in my collection at the moment.
Yeah.
But I would have found that cheap on either eBay or Discogs years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you ever saw it, but the very first mini disc portable that came out, and I think it was the first mini disc device of any type. It wasn't very good actually. Like everything that came after was really good. It was streamlined. Yeah. The first thing was like this sort of chunky black box, and it was just festooned with too many buttons, and it was one of those builds where it looked like something would go wrong because there's just too much happening and too many mechanical bits that could go wrong. And
they're trying to be a bit too ambitious with it, I think, by the sounds of it.
Yeah. And then about a year later, they brought out like the revised model, and it was like half the size.
Well, it was slim, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh, and another bad thing about the original one, the battery life was appalling. It was something like 40 minutes or something like that.
They were quite expensive as well.
Well, that's the thing, and I said earlier. I mean, certainly in the early days, and I think for pretty much all of mini disc lifespan, they were just priced out the market.
Yeah.
And for pre-recorded mini discs as well, like if you're going to Virgin Megastore in 1997 and Oasis have just released Be Here Now, and you've got a CD player and you've got a mini disc player in your setup, you see the CD and it's what will it be, like maybe $11.99, $12.99,
something like that. Yeah.
And right next to it is the mini disc version, same tracks, smaller case, obviously. But it's like 25 quid. I mean, what are you going to buy?
Yeah, exactly.
If you're sensible, you'll buy the CD.
Yeah.
I mean, if I wasn't into mini disc at that time,
no.
Like I said, it was something I got introduced to a little later on from my friend. But but even if I had a mini disc player in my setup, I'd be like, well, I'm not paying double for the same.
No, exactly. What's the point? For pretty much identical audio.
Same or pretty much as good quality.
Yeah, exactly.
Make a comparison with tapes, but the thing about tapes, tapes are cheaper, and so like I say, I've listened to some cassettes over the years, and even some quite recently, and on my setup particularly, they sound fantastic. But there was so much crap in relation to audio cassette equipment out.
Yeah,
like just junk. Just nasty stuff. I will say, I keep going back to cassettes, and I do apologise because I was trying to do bits where we just focus on one thing. But if anyone ever wants to get back into cassette, please, please, please do not buy anything that's been manufactured in modern days.
Yeah, they're awful.
Go on eBay, do what I've done, and I've done it a couple of times now in relation to cassettes. So my hit rate's 100% as well.
Yeah.
Look for Sony. I would say if you're that worried about buying a lemon, just stick with Sony. Get something from about the late 90s or the early 2000s.
Yeah.
That's Sony and that maybe was considered more budget Sony back in the day.
Yeah.
But budget Sony in 2000 is still about 100 times better than anything that's manufactured.
There are some, I mean, quite expensive now, but there are some quality bits of kit for tape, right? If you're willing to fork out the money.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, they are expensive.
Well, a lot of it is you have to buy it on the aftermarket because it is still old stuff. I think the only what I would call major hi-fi manufacturer that's still doing tape decks now is I think TIAC or Tascam.
Yeah.
And even then the build, because no one's making the mechanisms for cassettes to any good standard anymore. Even they're about as good as you can get, but A, they're too expensive, and B, something off eBay from 20, 25 years ago is going to be better anyway. It's going to be cheaper. Yeah. And it's going to be from a brand like Sony anyway. If I ever find mini discs when I'm out and about, these days, not really.
No,
it's always worth having a look in charity shops because pre-recorded mini discs, they're very similar with the case and everything. They're very similar looking to cassettes. So if you notice, you can go on eBay. And if you look under certain mini disc listings, you'll see that the account that's listed them is actually a charity shop account who also sell on eBay.
Yeah.
So charity shops, they do get donated mini discs, and if you ever find a mini disc, especially one with its with its artwork and its casing, and it's in a charity shop, buy it and then give them a little bit extra because chances are you're going to be able to sell that on eBay yourself.
Just to
because pre-recorded mini disc, it's a collector's market again.
Yeah.
And they're all worth a lot of money. There we are. Jason's got another prop for us.
Aerosmith 9 Lives. I got that for £2 in the Oxfam shop. That was about 2 or 3 years ago.
But not with
no case, unfortunately, no.
But
even so,
even that without its case, you'd probably at least quadruple your money if you decide to sell that on eBay.
I think it was something like £2.
Without the case, because a lot of the hardcore mini disc aficionados, they'd just, if they buy that and then they'd do a high quality printout, they'd have like a bit of software where you can transform like a CD artwork into mini disc proportions.
Yeah,
I've seen videos on it on YouTube, and then you can now buy the original pre-recorded mini disc cases. Like there's a company somewhere in this country, I think.
Yeah, I've got to look those up actually. Yeah.
So you could get that looking almost like you just it was like a proper thing you'd picked up off a shop shelf.
Well, I've got a decent printer anyway, so I've got LaserJet, so
Yeah. So you could do that if you wanted to, but even if you wanted to flog that just as it was, you'd still make a profit on it. I could almost guarantee you. So anyone out there watching, if you see anything and it's a mini disc in a charity shop or something, and because chances are whoever's put that out ain't gonna really know what it is, buy it because they're gonna be selling it for cheap, and maybe give them a donation because it's a bit unfair that like they're a charity shop and they're raising money for whatever.
Yeah.
But buy it, give them a bit extra, and then if you want to sell it on, then you're going to make a good profit.
I think if you see it for under £5, I don't think you can go far wrong. Especially if it's got the case.
Anything that's an original mini disc, original pre-recorded mini disc. I've seen anything for like under a tenner. I'd be buying it just even if I didn't want to keep it. Because it's that people pay through the nose for them. I've paid through the nose for a few of mine. I've found some fairly good bargains, but they're few and far between. That's why I don't really look for mini disc anymore. Because I feel like I've got everything on MD that came out that I wanted, and
yeah, fair enough.
The prices have just continued to rise on the second-hand market. So
didn't Bjork re-release some of her albums on MD? I know she did tape for definite.
No,
she did multicolored tape.
Yeah, it was multicolored tapes, not mini disc though. No.
Okay.
The only major artist I can think of who released his album on mini disc, and he also released it on 8-track at the same time, funnily enough, was the last Mark Ronson album.
Oh right, yeah, that's the reason, because
that's the only major artist who's done it.
Fair enough.
So I mean, mini disc. I love talking about MD. I could talk about it. I briefly mentioned about DCC. I mean, similar story, but even more of a sadder tale, really, because that really did die on its arse.
Yeah, it did.
The first couple of years. The sound quality was great, and some of the equipment, although a lot of it doesn't work now, but some of the equipment back in the day looked really nice as well. But it was. By I think about a year or two later, it came out about 92. By 94, it was almost a dead duck by then, really. So that was DCC, and I've never used a digital compact cassette recorder or player or anything. I'd love to, but I'm not risking paying loads of money for something that might not even work properly, and then I've got to start collecting in that format as well, or trying to record on that format. Buying blank recordable DCCs, I think you need to be a bloody millionaire because there's so few of them still in existence. So there doesn't seem much point, really. But
I'm just wondering if my blank mini discs are worth anything much.
If you
some of them are still sealed, never used.
Certainly, the sealed ones you'd be able to sell. I've got a few that are still sealed, actually, that I bought just like they were bundled with other equipment I've bought.
Yeah.
I do threaten to use them because I like doing the compilations. And, I've done a mini disc compilation of a lot of my vinyl singles, and it's just nice to put it on because it means, right, if I want to listen to all those singles I've got on 7-inch, like if I'm doing it as God intended, then I'm going to have to keep getting up every 3 minutes, changing the side. Oh, bloody, I've got to get up again. I've created a mini disc. I've recorded it in LP1, which I think's got a decent bit rate. It doesn't sound like it still sounds high quality. LP2 is a bit ropey, I've heard, so I've never used that. But LP1, you get about an hour and 20 minutes worth of music.
Yeah, because normally most of them was
7 and 12-inch singles on this one little mini disc. You stick it on, it's great. It's a lovely compilation.
Was it about 96, something like that? Because I think CDs were 128. So I don't think it's far removed from that. 96 sounds about right.
For what? Sorry.
For the bit rate, for the LP recording on mini disc.
I don't know the exact numbers for bit rates and stuff. I'm not. Yeah, that's something I don't really look into. I just tend to look and see what people say. If people say, "Oh, it's this is a good form to record in," then I will. And then a lot of everyone I've seen who's said about LP2 has said long playthrough. That is, by the way, has said. That's not very good. It starts to sound a little bit ropey, so I mainly use that for spoken word and stuff like
that. Just saying, I don't know who put it out, said about the MDs worth looking out for. It's like anything else, right? It's worth whatever people are willing to pay for. If you want something that's a bit of a novelty that you haven't got in your collection, it's another good thing to have, right? Buy what you, at the end of the day, buy what you like, and if it happens to be worth a bit of money, decide to sell it later on.
Any other format, I'd say buy what you like. For mini disc, I'd say buy anything, personally.
Yeah. Oh, fair enough. Okay.
What's cheap for a mini disc? £10 and under, I would say. Maybe even getting on for 15 if it's one that's got all its artwork and the cases intact and everything. So
you know a lot more about it than I do. So
£15, and then chances are, if you're buying something that's has got everything with it for that price, and you want to sell it, then you're going to sell it for a profit.
Do the prices fluctuate much?
Well, they've gone up a lot. They were high enough when I started collecting them about 6 or 7 years ago. They're like even worse now.
Yeah, but, so you know,
there is bargains to be found. You get lucky on eBay with all sorts that you don't expect to. Really, if you're on it long enough, it depends how much time you want to dedicate to it. Really.
Yeah, fair enough.
Right, we'll move on to another format now. We'll move on to a format that's more Jason's era. The shellac record.
I didn't think you were going to cover those.
I've not got much to say about this because I've never played a shellac record. But
no, I have got some. But
talk about it for a little bit, Jason. We can do.
It was. I think when I started getting into music, it was sort of like pretty much on its way out. Mine was the 45s and the 33s standard record. What did they call it back then? Was it wax? Because a lot of people said wax.
Shellac.
No. I mean after shellac. Anyway, whatever it was.
What you mean? Like an early euphemism for vinyl? You mean?
Yeah.
I've heard wax used in place of vinyl. I think I've done it myself before.
Yeah. Anyway, the basic.
Probably another Americanism that shouldn't really be using, Rob Walker. But
stop digging at him. Leave the poor bugger alone.
Poor bugger. You should see him in other people's live streams. He's always on a wind up.
Oh, right, okay.
It always makes me laugh because it's usually a bunch of Yanks. Yankees.
Oh, right, okay, fair enough. Yeah.
And of course, like, hey, I don't understand British humor.
Yeah, that's all right. That's why it's us.
No. We're all good English people here, so we can all take the piss.
Yeah. I mean, shellac. I did pick up some at a car boot sale for free, right? But a lot of them got broken in trying to transport them home. They're very, very delicate. Very delicate.
They're brittle, aren't they?
Yeah. You can sometimes get away with dropping it. All right, I wouldn't recommend it, obviously. But you can dropping a standard LP on the floor, and it won't break. You can get a shellac one, guarantee it a shower, absolutely guarantee it. Right? It was. I don't know really what was on 78s because all the stuff I found was sort of things like kids' albums and storybook readings and stuff like that. So, I mean, obviously you probably had all the orchestral stuff. So Beethoven and Tchaikovsky and all that sort of thing. Maybe early jazz. I can't remember. I can't really remember what was
basically anything. I think basically anything from like the first half of the 20th century is what you got on shellac disc, really.
Yeah, really.
The book I was reading up until a few weeks ago, I finished it. It was good, although I've got a few problems with it, but it's not something I'll talk about today. The Story of Pop by Bob Stanley.
I think
he was on about like the early days of the UK charts, and till I think pretty much into the early 60s, there was still as many singles being released on shellac as there was on vinyl. Believe it or not.
Yeah, I should have asked him dad because he would know better, because he was born in 1947, and so a lot of the stuff.
Like the vinyl record, LP, single, whatever. I mean, that was something that it started getting developed properly again after World War II. So from like 1945, and then by the early 50s, it was ready for international marketing, etc. But you have to remember, a lot of people, and there'll be people who are still coming out of rationing from the war and things like that.
Exactly.
In the early 50s. They're not going to be able to, they want to listen to music and buy music, but they're not going to be able to afford to upgrade from shellac to vinyl right away.
Yeah.
So a lot of singles and albums, I'm mainly talking about the singles because that's what I was reading about mostly, but they were still being released on shellac 10-inch disc.
Yeah.
Quite a way.
Because it was 10-inch.
Pretty much into the early 1960s from what I was reading.
Yeah, because I forgot it was 10-inch,
Yeah, I think they're always 10-inch. I don't think I've ever seen
I think you're right.
Always one. I could be wrong there, and one day I may discover that there were different size shellac discs, but
yeah, I don't think so.
Do you know what shellac records, what shellac discs were made out of, Jason?
Well, shellac. That's what it was. It was like a slate style thing, wasn't it? Something like that. I can't remember exactly.
No.
What was it then?
Shellac is the product that you get from the excretion of the lac bug.
All right. Okay.
Lac bug is it's a type of insect, obviously.
Yeah.
Mainly, I think, Asia and Africa it's its habitat. And although excretion sounds a bit unpleasant, what I mean by that is it excretes its shell.
Yes.
So the lac bug, its shell, it gets gathered up by farmers and crop pickers, whoever it is, gets turned into shellac. That's what your records are made out of.
Yeah, now that you're saying that does actually ring a bell.
Insect excretions.
Yeah.
So what were you on about with slate, Jason?
No, but it was sort of, I think it's because what it reminded me of was a slate style thing. I don't know. But no, you're saying about the bugs. I do remember someone saying that to me as well.
In Rochdale, there's people around here. I think they think the war's still on. I think you've been asked a question by Richard there.
What was that then?
An album that played at 16 revs per minute.
I don't think I ever had that. No, I don't remember those at all.
I've seen them. I never had one, but I've seen them be demonstrated. I mean, there's not many record players that you would be able to get that 16.
Well, even 78s these days are difficult to play on a modern system. It's not impossible.
We talked a little bit about this today, I think, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, because you said to me about it, and again, Techmoan was saying how to play them properly.
Yeah, Techmoan's done a really good video on it. That's like only a couple of weeks or so old at the moment.
Yeah.
Right, all those suitcase Crosley style turntables, which they're not very good, but people will spend the money on what they want. Really, I'm not really judging, but they always say they've got 3 speeds. 33, I think, for me, 33, 45, and then 78.
Yeah.
If you've got any 78s or shellac discs, 78s is commonly what they're called.
Yeah.
And you've got one of those Crosley style record players, don't play your 78s on them because they're just going to sound like shit, because the grooves on a shellac disc on a 78 are so much wider, right? If you think of my finger there as a stylus needle and then my hand as a record groove, then that's how a record plays normally. A normal vinyl record is it's touching the sides and it's going on the bottom.
I think you can
and vibrates the side of the micro groove is how the music's getting transferred. But right now you go to shellac record. It's like a clown's pocket. It's like your and a vinyl stylus. All it's doing is scraping along the bottom. It's not touching those sides. Look.
Yeah.
So just see. So that's why any 78 record that's not played with the correct equipment is going to sound like absolute arse.
I believe I don't know about all players, right? But I believe you can buy 78, what they used to call it because a cartridge, didn't they? A 78 stylus cartridge.
Yeah.
So I think you can get them to put on your stereo.
If you go on, I think it's Audio Technica's website. But your thing is though, you've got to then have a record player, a good one, where you can swap the stylus or the cartridge out.
Yeah.
Or a special 78 thicker stylus.
Yeah.
You can't do that on a Crosley or
a
piece of crap. Yeah. So you've got to make sure you've got the right equipment. Audio Technica, it feels like I'm becoming a spokesman for them now.
Well, that's who I got my record player from, wasn't it?
Yeah, I've got an Audio Technica as well. Not the one I'm about to mention, but it's another one they've got in the range. They've got one that's that's modern. It's got all what you'd currently want to have, but it has got 78 RPM speed on it. But you've still got to buy your 78 RPM stylus separately.
Yeah.
You shouldn't use a vinyl stylus on shellac records. Is basically a long story.
What would be the thing? Would it be? I know obviously it's the playing ability. Would it do anything to the stylus? Would it do anything to damage the record if you tried?
I don't think it damages stylus. I would have thought it won't damage the record. But it won't sound very good either. Rob's off to make a mixtape. Why don't you have a shake down at the drive-in while you're at it, Rob? Thanks for coming in, mate.
A malt shake as well.
Yeah, a malt shake, whatever one of them is.
Or root beer.
So to answer that question, it probably doesn't do your shellac, your 78s much good.
No.
But also, it's not going to do. It's not if you've got a good stylus on a good record player. Don't put a shellac disc down and think like you're just going to be able to play it. You need to swap your cartridge out and things like that. A lot of the old dance set type record players could play them. Now that goes back a little bit to what I was saying about this sort of period between the 50s and the 60s, where some music systems were being. And actually, my mum were talking to me about it the other day, funnily enough, about a music centre, like a big old hi-fi type thing that her dad, my grandfather, had in the early 60s. And it had a turntable platter, and it had a rotating stylus. And so one side was your vinyl stylus, you rotate it, and then you've got your 78 stylus, which is... So I've never seen one of those in action before, but
I had one.
And then my mum said, "Oh, my dad, your granddad had one of them, so he was able to play both vinyl and 78s on the one system. It was a rotating. I mean, she didn't.
No, that's what I had. One of my first record players.
So I think what Nick says about dance set players, which I know were really popular, particularly with like young people in the 1960s. I bet some of the earlier ones of them, when shellac was still selling just about enough. I wouldn't be surprised if some of them had the rotating head shell or whatever you'd call it on. So I'm surprised we've talked about 78s for so long. It's I know you've got loads of memories, Jason. You've been there when they were invented and everything. So
wow, not quite, but
not quite. But a format I think I know you wanted to talk about a little bit. It's one I've never used, and we did touch upon it very briefly, ages ago. But I know you wanted to talk a little bit about reel to reel. So
again, it's not never owned anything on it. It was the whole concept of the recording. This is and the one I had, I was given it. I think it was my mum and my dad's. I wrecked the heck out of it because I used it so much for basically messing about on. It was a lovely silver and black thing, probably from the 50s, could well be. And as it suggests, you took one end of the tape, you fed it through the playhead, put it through into the other thing and put a clip on there. A bit like what you did with the old cine projectors as well. Right? Except it was purely for audio. And we used to mess around with it. And you had this little thing. I don't really know what it was. I think it was basically to control the speeds. For playback. But you could also use it for recording. So you put it on, there was two little pins. Depending on where you put it, would depend on what speed you were recording at. So you could record your voices and play it back, and it sounded like the Munchkins. I mean, as a kid, that was funny as hell. Absolutely loved just messing around with it. And that was just doing little radio skits.
I'm going back to my college radio time again here, but my friend, he had a big, and it was like a proper with the big 10-inch reels on it as well.
Like all the synth bands
ones.
had,
like the broadcast standard ones.
Yeah.
You call them there. And he'd record all these jingles and stuff on it because the sound was immaculate, and he used to do like characters and stuff. So if you wanted a character with a low voice, and I started getting into like making up characters for him. So we'd record ourselves, and then he'd slow it down. And then if we wanted characters with like a chipmunky kind of high pitched voice, speed it up. Yeah, so that is really my only, and I never used it. I would just sort of sat there and watched him, and then if I needed to do any voices for him or read any script, then I would. But he would be the one who'd be actually like, using the device, using the machine. But I always liked how it looked with the big reel going from. Yeah.
Well, this was like in a little case. You had a flip top sort of lid, so you get into it, and then you could, when you're playing, you can shut it down. It all nice and compact. And,
I know the sort of thing. There's some really nice ones that.
It's a shame it broke.
I've seen Techmoan show a couple, well, more than a couple, really, a few different reel-to-reel machines. He got a lovely Sony one from Japan a few years ago that was a little bit like how you're saying, where it was sort of like you sat it on. It was probably might have been a bit bigger than the sort of thing you'd be using.
I think these were like something like a 3 or 5 inch reel. I can't remember.
Yeah,
they weren't very big.
It was a 5-inch one that he'd got from Japan, a really nice Sony, because he wanted to get that particular model because he'd seen someone on a Netflix show using it, so he wanted to get one, the same one he'd seen on that. And he's got one in his setup, like a great big one, like with the broadcast size reels, and he's shown other ones as well on his channel, ones that he's either had from years ago or ones that he's just had, just to make a video about, really, because that's what he does. But I've not really got an awful lot to say about reel-to-reel from personal experience. I know my dad used it before I was born. Apparently, my mum threw out his reel-to-reel player because she just didn't like seeing it. She got fed up with him fiddling with it or something.
It's one of those things. That's what you did.
I don't think he ever quite forgave her for that. That might be why they got divorced all those years.
Thing to say.
Probably not.
That'd be a bit petty, wouldn't
it? Yeah. Well, apparently my dad, he loved reel-to-reel. I mean, once he got his Sony Hi-Fi that him and me and my brother, and even my mum to a small extent, was using throughout the 80s and well into the 90s. I mean, reel-to-reel for me dad would have certainly been superfluous. As a pre-recorded format, it never caught on over here. I think it did a little bit better in America. But
I think it was maybe to send messages.
It was fiddly. Some machines obviously wouldn't have like your auto spool and auto reverse and all that kind of stuff on it.
But no, it was a lot of it was it was sending stuff. You got friends abroad or whatever. Because again, I can't remember when reel-to-reel came out. But it's certainly been around for quite a long time. And then it was a case of like, you got a friend that you might have met during the war, right, or whatever, and you're like, I want to send them a message. So instead of writing a long blooming letter or whatever, you get a tape. There you go.
Yeah,
send it off to them, they can play it.
Yeah, I remember there were those little you could buy like little reels, little tape reels.
Yeah,
and the box it came in actually had room for you to write an address on. And
I think it did. Yes.
So you bought one. You recorded your message to your loved one who might have emigrated to Australia or Canada or wherever. You write their address. You put a stamp on it, or take it to a post office for them to put it on. Yeah. So that was quite a, I wouldn't say overly commonplace, because obviously you needed to know people who lived in another country. I don't think anyone particularly bothered doing it from one British person to another, because it's like you'd just write a normal letter, or maybe use the phone or something, wouldn't you? But
yeah, maybe
you did, you know. But for me, it was more like a kind of international thing, really.
If you're anything like my mum with her letter writing used to be, it's like reams and reams and reams of the stuff, so it'd have been easy to do on tape.
Well, in a way, you know, it's easier for some people, maybe not.
And people like to hear your voice as well.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Yeah, if you've got like family who've emigrated, and ducks, let's not forget, back then international phone calls, no one would be able to really afford to do that, would they? Whereas I think sending a little tape reel and buying a stamp, I mean, that's not going to cost that much, really. Even internationally, I think international post was pretty reasonable back then for a long time.
Yeah.
So yeah.
For that, it was ideal.
Yeah.
But I think really that's what it was aimed at, you know.
Yeah, I think by the mid-80s, I think it was pretty much everyone just stopped releasing stuff on reels.
Yeah.
You know, I think maybe albums from sort of like that kind of 83, 84 period, like Thriller by Michael Jackson and Can't Slow Down by Lionel Richie, they might have been some of the final albums to come out on reel-to-reel, as in like, you know, and even then, I think in America, a lot of it was mail order only by that point.
Yeah. Well, you also
Columbia House.
You also had 8-track as well, didn't you?
Well, I would not. I was gonna say.
Sorry.
One more. Yeah. I know I said he's my co-host, but do you think he's like just trying to take over? Should we try and swap sides here? Can you be on the left so that people know you're more important than me now? Okay. Yeah. Well, I've talked enough about reel-to-reel, I think, really. But yeah, 8-track cartridges. There again, big in America.
Didn't know much about them. No.
Mark Ronson released his last album on 8-track, although there was only about bloody 50 or 100 of them available, and they all got snapped up within about 5 minutes of pre-order. Apparently,
doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, well, because they're just collector's pieces. I bet most people buying them weren't even able to play them.
No.
Tecmo managed to get one, and he's able to play it because he's got every format ever known.
It was mainly in cars, though, wasn't it? You'd find it in your car stereo.
In America, not so much here. And do you know the reason? Do you know the reason for that? You did get some cars with an 8-track player here, but not as many. The reason is, if you think about American cars, they're bigger. They've got more space in them, and at the front. Because if you think about an 8-track, it's quite a chunky mechanism. So they've got to fit quite a big mechanism at the front of your car.
Yeah.
Whereas over here in the UK and in Europe, well, we generally drive smaller cars as a rule.
Yeah,
so we haven't really got the room in our cars in the 1970s to put an 8-track mechanism.
I'm just trying to remember whether my dad had I couldn't even tell if it was American brand or not, but it was American styled car, a Zodiac.
Yeah,
and I'm trying to remember if that had an 8-track in it or not. I think he might have swapped it out for something else.
But it was a popular format in America for cars and particularly for lorry drivers, truckers.
Yeah.
That's why if ever you go on eBay and you look for 8-tracks and you see like someone selling like a bundle of like their old collection or whatever, you'll notice a lot of it is like 1970s country. Because that's what American truckers were into. They just wanted country music folder. So if they've got an 8-track player in their truck, in their cab, their lorry, their truck, then they just collect all the country stuff because that's what they were into.
Yeah.
So that's why if you ever want to collect 8-track, and I wouldn't recommend it because they're just so fiddly to like fix because like they're old and like stuff disintegrates in them. But if you want to collect 8-tracks but you want to do it on the cheap, you want to be collecting the country ones because they're the ones that are widely available and going cheap. So there you go. that a tip for you there, Jason. Now you've got to rush off to eBay and buy a load of country and western 8-tracks after.
Yeehaw!
Yeah. But yeah, 8-tracks. I mean, similar in tape to a lot of ways. I didn't know for many years that you could actually record onto 8-tracks.
I didn't know that. No.
You can. I keep mentioning him, but he has got all the formats ever. Techman's got an 8-track recorder. It's a really nice looking thing as well.
I've probably seen the video.
Use it.
Yeah.
And obviously buying a blank 8-track now is probably like, you've probably got a better chance of platting piss. I think he found one like 10 years ago and it was like a stupid amount of money. And like, you might have got the last one still sealed in its wrapping in the world, probably. But
yes.
And even then, in fact, there's a company on Bandcamp. I think they call them like Dead Media Tapes. They're the ones who actually worked with Mark Ronson for his 8-track. What they do, they source old and broken 8-track cartridges off eBay, car boot sales, blah blah blah. And the guy who runs this little company, he's got like a special machine that can wipe all the music, all the information, the data off tape, and then it's basically then a blank one again. But it'll probably still need tarting up, so he needs to like put a new shell on it, and
well, it's easy enough to do with
and things like that.
Yeah, easy enough to do with a 3D printer.
Well, I mean, I don't know how much 3D printing's involved in it exactly, but it's this one guy. He's got I've said a company, but really it's a one guy.
This is what maybe
doing it on and then like he gets like a few sort of indie artists who want to record stuff, and he'll sell them on his Bandcamp page, and then he was the one who helped Mark Ronson out with when he wanted his album on 8-track. But I mean, their 8-track were really like you could say, as far as quality's concerned, it's like audio cassette times 10, really. If you haven't got the right sort of equipment, it's just going to sound like absolute crap.
Yeah. Which is fair enough.
Nick's a truck driver.
Good for you, mate. Good for you.
Well, some people like country. I myself aren't very keen, but odd bits I think I can tolerate like anything else.
It's the more bluesy country that I like. Bluegrass as opposed to proper country music.
Yeah. But 8-tracks. I've never used one. I've not got any interest in. I maybe like to use, play one somewhere somehow just to say I've done it. But I've got no real desire. I've got no kind of nostalgia for it for obvious reasons. So so we're coming up on nearly 5 to 10. So before we finish at around 10 o'clock, I mean, I think we've really got to at least make a passing mention to the format that really a lot of us are just always banging on about.
I didn't realise it was that late, mate.
Pardon?
I didn't realise it was that late.
No. Well, we've been discussing. I mean, we spent, and I'll hold my hands up to that, but we spent probably too long talking about bloody cassettes and and why mixtapes weren't a thing, or weren't a thing, but we didn't call them that thing. But come on, final records. Let's just finish off with a few thoughts about them.
Okay, well, obviously I've got back into it. I had the phase where I was mainly CDs, but then but I kept a lot of mine because I had all the Adam and the Ants albums and stuff like that, and the singles. You've seen I managed to find my old XTC single. All right, bad and tatty as hell, but it does still play. So I had a lot of mine, and I would still collect stuff in the 90s because I was buying the CD, the tape, 7-inch, 12-inch picture disc. I was a bit of a completist at the time. Not so much now, but I did do that. But no, I've always liked records, for want of a better term, since I was a little kid. I think one of the first songs my mum ever played me was Mungo. Was it Mungo Jerry? I can't remember now. No, Lieutenant Pigeon, Mouldy Old Dough. That was it.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, that was one of the first songs. Apparently, I was about 2 or 3 and jumping around the living room to it every time they put it on. So, yeah, and I had a number of players over the years for everything from a little wooden boxed little stereo with a clear plastic lid to one of the old box ones. And again, I had the GPO Crossley equivalent, and then this Audio Technics, as you say. So, yeah, I mean, that's a brief history of mine.
Yeah. Interesting. Richard asked you if we mentioned the flexi disc. Well, you brought that as a prop. I mean, there we go. Tell us what's on that flexi disc before.
Well, you can't play it because it's creased as anything, but it's some Christmas songs, I think.
All right, a Christmas flexi disc.
It's how they used to do it, because you could get them in like a card and you send them off to somebody with the disc.
I remember getting one or two off Looking magazine in the
box. I've got De La Soul single, and that was on a flex disc, but it was off Kellogg's Rice Krispies or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So because you couldn't peel it off, it's still got the cardboard of the box on there.
Yeah.
So
that's a subgenre. I'm not sure what exactly they'd be made of. Some sort of plastic, obviously, isn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's you can almost you can see through it. I can see the screen through it. It's that thin. It's I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah.
It's nothing to it. You can cut it with a Paris, and it's creased as anything. As I say, you can't play that anymore. Just to happen to have it around. I thought, oh yeah,
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not going to talk about vinyl records because I do that like 2 or 3 times a week on the channel anyway. But it'd feel a bit unusual for us not to at least like give them the mention at the end. I spend way too much money on vinyl, but
you do.
All you have to do is tune into my records roundup and watch that for 5 minutes to realise that when I've paid stupid pounds and stupid pence for something from bloody Greece or Australia, or I've ordered from some funny places like Japan. I've bought stuff from Slovenia. I have to get a lot of Lieback stuff imported from Slovenia.
I don't know.
All kind of Eastern European countries. I try and support all of my friends in the Eastern Bloc behind the Iron Curtain, as it were.
I've got a lot of demo. Not demo. White label releases, should we say? It has got the band on it, so it's not strictly white label, but promotional copies, stuff like that. Especially some of the early hip hop and stuff like Bomb the Bass and what have you. Because there used to be a shop down my way called Movement Records, and used to go all there in the time for like hip hop and house music and all the rest of it. That was really good. I do miss. All right, we're getting them back. We've got them back again in about the last 10 years or so. But I miss the small independent record stores that you could go and buy the pre-owned stuff, right? I've got no objection to buying pre-owned as long as it's in reasonable nick. Okay, I have had some dodgy ones, but they're ones that are usually given to me, and they've definitely taken a beating over the years. They play okay, but the covers are definitely ropey, to say the least. But it's just I think I've really got back. It was sort of like the last 10 years or so. Since I've known you.
I think I started collecting records again after all this time in 2019, I think it was.
Yeah, well, mine's mainly since I've known you. You got me. I think you pretty much got me back into it again.
Oh, I'm that influential. Oh, great.
Yeah. I mean, as I said, I did have
some. I'll wait to end with Jason finally admitting that I'm the greatest influence on his life.
I wouldn't go that far.
Oh, all right then.
Yeah.
And I think Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah. Well, yeah, you don't want to follow in my footsteps in the money that I've been spending.
No, I was going to say, exactly.
But for me, it's like it gets to be a bit of an addiction.
I spent enough this month as it is anyway.
Yeah,
I probably spent about 130 quid on records this month.
Nice.
Yeah, so
we'll see you high rolling for a change, Jason. I know what you're.
Sometimes, yeah. You've got to save up. I've got my Canada trips and everything to think about, and all my comic book expeditions.
Well, yeah, no one wants to know about any of that crap, Jason. This the old Sodcast we're talking about music.
and the gigs, the gigs.
Yeah. I suppose I don't mind.
I did go to see the Eels the other week.
Yeah.
I spent 50 quid on the crappiest signed record I've ever bought.
It all comes back to vinyl, exactly, Nick, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's I think going to do it for us because we've been at this for 2 hours now. I had a quick look a minute ago as to what we're planning on talking about in 2 weeks' time. We won't give any spoilers out, and Jason forgot what we planned anyway.
I think I know, but I want to make sure.
If you thought mixtapes and audio cassettes was controversial, I reckon we can.
I
reckon we can really get some controversy going in here in 2 weeks' time. Jason remembers. So I do hope that all of you who've joined us in the chat here, and anyone who's watching on replay, of course, as well, that you'll be able to join us in 2 weeks at the same time, 8 p.m. for number 3 of the old Sodcast. It does promise to be a good one. It's just going to be one that, I'll be able to have a few rants, certainly. So I apologise in advance, but I'm kind of not sorry because
if me and Jimmy have a bit of argy-bargy difference of opinion, don't be surprised.
I'm just expecting to fall out with the chat in 2 weeks. Really offend some people, but we'll see.
I know one. At least you're going to mention. I know one.
Yeah, but come back in 2 weeks' time to find out what that is. And I want to say thank you for everyone who's contributed to the chat tonight. I want to say thanks to Jason, of course, for being a good co-host as always.
I'll try.
And, we'll both, all being well, see you all in 2 weeks' time. So thank you very much, everybody. Goodbye.
Ta-ra,